Peace and welcome to the culture here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Farajii Muhammad. Thank you so much for tuning in and being a part of the conversation. Folks, we got a lot to talk about. And of course, today is our kickoff for our special series, the Black Men Summit, where we're going to be redefining and celebrating Black manhood. Let's talk a little bit about the latest against former President Donald Trump, as a gag order has officially been issued. We'll talk about that. We'll also check in with Dr. Bridget today for today's Reclaim Your Wellness. And at 4 p.m. Eastern Time, folks, we get into it. We're going to talk about Black men in faith and spirituality. We're going to be joined by Pastor Jamal Bryant of New Birth. We're also going to be joined by Imam Abdul Salam and spiritual healer and meditational healer, Brother Zentola. So we're going to have that conversation. And of course, with you, my culture crew. So let's get right into it. You're tuned into the culture right here on the Black Star Network. Let's go. All right, folks, welcome to the culture right here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Farajii Muhammad. Thank you so much for tuning in and being a part of the conversation. Man, oh man, it is going to be a fantastic day as we're kicking off our special series at 4 p.m. today, the Culture's Black Men Summit, where we're talking about redefining and celebrating Black manhood. And this is all on the day today, October 16, 2023. It was 28 years ago today, folks, that nearly, some would say 2 million, some would say nearly 2 million, but over 1 million Black men gathered and convened on that great mall on Washington. And we're going to have the conversation about Black men as we talk about Black men in faith and spirituality. It is a momentous day, a day of great history, a day of great reflection, and a day to shift the conversation about what we can do to use that momentum 28 years ago to power the space that we're in right now. So we're going to get into all of that in a little bit. But first, let's talk a little bit about former President Donald Trump, who continues to be in the news, folks, as the president now has officially been issued a gag order. And this is coming from Judge Tanya Chutkan. She put it out there, folks. Let me just tell you, she is a Black woman that is not joking around at all with the former president. Y'all remember that when he did go into for his hearing in D.C., for his hearing in New York, he came out of that courtroom and basically started bad-mouthing the judge and the court workers and all of the folks involved in just doing their job. Well, today, the judge issued this gag order. Let me share with you what she had to say on this, and then I'd love to get your take on this, crew. Make sure y'all follow us also. We're going to be, before we get to that, at least, let me just let folks know, thank you. Make sure y'all check us out we're streaming on a number of various platforms, Amazon News on your Fire TV, Amazon Video on Prime Video. We're also streaming on Freevee as well as Plex TV, and you can check us out there. And right now we're streaming on YouTube. Just go to Roland Martin's YouTube page and check it out and be a part of the culture crew for today. All right, Lise, let's go to the piece around Judge Chutkan, how she issued this gag order. The order restricts Trump's ability to publicly target court personnel, potential witnesses, or the special counsel and his staff. The order does not impose restrictions on disparaging comments about Washington, D.C., where the jury will take place, or certain comments about the Justice Department at large, both of which the government requested. This is not about whether I like the language Mr. Trump uses, says Judge Tanya Chutkan. She said this is about language that presents a danger to the administration of justice. His presidential candidacy does not give him carte blanche to vilify public servants who are simply doing their jobs. Folks, I want to get your take on this, folks, around this situation. What's your take on this? And do you think she's making the right decision in issuing this gag order that against the former president? And we know that his mouth gets him into a world of trouble Let me just share with y'all are checking in and say that's just Tanya Chutkan right there. One of the many, she's one of the black women that's looking to stop the Trump train. And I think it's absolutely like, I don't know if it's ironic. I don't know if it just happens to be this way, but her, Fonnie Willis, and other black women are leading the charge against Donald Trump. Very, very significant. There's a lot of meaning, I think, in that situation, but we'll talk a little bit about that later. But let's see what you got to say, Cruiser. Y'all checking in. I see my peoples are in here heavy today, wanting to be a part of these conversations. I see you, Deidre Hall. Hey, Deidre, good afternoon. Pauline Hurt, good afternoon. Thank you so much for checking in. My big brother, Damon Blissett, Pastor. Peace, brother Damon. Thank you so much for checking in. Jacqueline Boateng, how are you, Jacqueline? Hey, Tiana, good to connect with you once again. I see Naja Kennan. Naja, thank you so much for checking in. Cindy D, I see you. Lori Parks, I see you. And you say peace and love for Farajii. Peace and love to you, Anastasia, as always. Thank you so much for being a part of the culture. And Maisha, my sister Maisha Essex is in here, man. The Sacred Purpose Coach is in the chat right now. Maisha Essex, thank you so much, Maisha, for checking in. Man, oh man. And Shiznick, you said, what up, bro? I hope I'm Shilsnick. Nick. I'm going to say that again. Make sure I say that. What's up, brother? Good to see you, and thank you so much for checking in. All right, let's talk a little bit about this Trump situation. Lori, you said that Judge Chutkan is not playing. Lori Parks, you said she's not playing. No, she's not playing at all. She's not playing at all. And should she play? Oh, no, no, no. You should not play, because if this man is allowed to do this, y'all remember when we first started talking about this, we showed you the remarks that he made after the hearings and whatnot. And I think a number of you from the crew, y'all was making a point like, Farajii, how can a man how can he say certain things like this, right? And I was wondering the same thing, to be honest with you. And so I'm with the judge. You cannot administer justice if the person that's on trial for a criminal charge, folks. I want us to put this in perspective. He's on trial for a criminal situation. Let me share this piece from CNN and kind of give you some more understanding about this. This is the thing, because she said Mr. Trump is a criminal defendant. He is facing 4 felony charges. This is Judge Tanya Chutkan. He is under the supervision of the criminal justice system, and he must follow his conditions of release. This is the question she asked Trump's attorney, John Lauro, who responded 100%. She asked the question, he does not have the right to say and do exactly what he pleases. Do you agree with that? He said 100%. So you're talking about a man that's up for criminal charges, 4 felony charges, and he goes out right into the lobby, right into the foyer, and starts bad mouthing the judge. You know, Judge Chutkan, she's been the target of his comments, and other folks have been the target of his comments. Where can you see that? If one of us get locked up, come on, man, we don't even know, we only have to finish the rest of that. If one of us get locked up, can we go out into the hallway and just start talking bad about the judge? So you gotta rein this situation in. You gotta rein this situation in. Cindy, my sister, you said, I hope the gag order includes herself. I don't think Trump will stop doing it. He is daring someone to put him in jail as a living martyr. I think there's some truth in that, Cindy. I definitely think there's some truth in that. Deidre, you said he was being very disrespectful to her. Absolutely. Absolutely. Look, man, I'm telling y'all, it probably burns this man up that a black woman is determining his fate in this case. Burns him up. And I'm saying this for real, for real. This is not on some racist stuff. I'm telling you, it burns that man up. That she's a woman, for one, and then she's a black woman for another reason. Burns him up. Burns him up. Sean Ryan, you said that's right. He's out on bond, so he doesn't have his full constitutional rights. Facts. There it is. There it is right there. So, we will have to see how the situation plays out, if he's going to abide by this, adhere to this gag order. And if he doesn't, she told him there will be some consequences, and she said some sanctions on this situation. So we will have to see. But big shout out to Judge Chutkan, because no one even wants to hear this man keeps talking bad about the system that he's running to uphold, like, unless you, okay, if you wanted to be president of the United States of America and the legal system, the justice system is a part of this larger infrastructure, but you're bad mouthing these judges and everybody, that just gives us a sign as to where your mind, your heart, and your spirit is in trying to disrupt this whole situation and in a very, very fundamental way. And it opens the door. It opens the door, folks, for a lot of stuff to come down the pipe if this continues to happen. So I understand Judge Chutkan's viewpoint on this situation. Look, I got to take a quick pause. When we come forward, let's talk about health and wellness. Let's check in with our Dr. Bridget, MD. She's going to talk to us about mental health and why it's important for Black men to have hope. As we start in about 30 minutes or so, we're going to be kicking off our Black Men Summit. So make sure y'all tune in for Dr. Bridget for this week's Reclaim Your Wellness. And of course, stay tuned to the culture right here on the Black Star Network. We're just getting started.
Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no punch!
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig? When you talk about blackness and what happens in Black culture, you're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in Black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible. Checks and money orders go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com.
All right, folks, welcome back to the culture here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Farajii Muhammad. Thank you so much for tuning in and being a part of the conversation. We are streaming live right now on YouTube and on Facebook, but it's on our YouTube page where you can join us in the chat and become a part of the great culture crew, that crew of people from around the country and some parts of the world where we have these conversations in real time, interactively with you as we have these discussions. And so make sure y'all join us on Roland Martin's YouTube page as we're streaming live right now. All right, and let's shift gears from politics to talking about health and wellness. It is Monday, and even though we have the summit, I asked our good doctor, hey, can you still come on? Because I know you can say something about what needs to be done, especially as it relates to Black men or whatever else. And she said, I got something I want to talk to us about. So let's now start and kick it off with Dr. Bridget with this week's Reclaim Your Wellness. Dr. Bridget.
Hello, Farajii. How are you today?
I'm good, Doc. How are you?
Very good. Very good. Thank you.
Good. All right, Doc. You got something very special for us because, today we're kicking off the Black Men Summit. It's also the 28th anniversary of the historic Million Man March. So yes. You wanted to talk about something that I don't think a lot of doctors talk about, which is something that's not as tangible as medication and illnesses, but something different. Talk to us, Doc. What you got in mind?
Absolutely. So, we had conversation off camera earlier, and I remember the Million Man March incredibly well.
Hey, Doc, let me do this. Your sound is off. Okay, yeah, we can't hear you. Oh, yeah. Let's see if we can get your sound off. Let's do this. Let's take a quick pause. Let's get this taken care of because I want to make sure that we hear every single word the Doc has to share with us about her experience and this conversation that she has for us. So stay with us, folks. It's The Culture right here on the Black Star Network. Peace, I'm Farajii Muhammad, host of The Culture. And brothers, we need to talk. There's been much discussion about the state of the black man in our community. Whether it's in politics, education, or in the home, my brothers, we are struggling to lead the way, which is why The Culture will be hosting the Black Men Summit, where we'll be redefining and celebrating black manhood. This special series will kick off on the 28th anniversary of the historic Million Man March on Monday, October the 16th at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. I'll be talking to some of Black America's most prolific, dynamic, thought-provoking black men activists, scholars, and leaders about our role, our power, and our future. So tune in and join the conversation as an online culture crew member for The Culture's Black Men Summit, redefining and celebrating black manhood. Starting Monday, October 16th through Friday, October 20th, 4 p.m. Eastern Time each day, right here, exclusively here on the Black Star Network.
Pull up a chair, take your seat. The Black Tape with me, Dr. Greg Carr, here on the Black Star Network. Every week, we'll take a deeper dive into the world we're living in. Join the conversation only on the Black Star Network.
I'm Farajii Muhammad, live from LA. And this is The Culture. The Culture is a two-way conversation. You and me. We talk about the stories, politics, the good, the bad, and the downright ugly. So join our community every day at 3 p.m. Eastern and let your voice be heard. Hey, we're all in this together. So let's talk about it and see what kind of trouble we can get into. It's The Culture, weekdays at 3, only on the Black Star Network.
When you talk about blackness and what happens in black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible. Check some money orders. Go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com. Folks, Black Star Network is here.
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told. Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
All right, folks, welcome back to the culture here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Farajii Muhammad. All right, let's check back in with my sister, Dr. Bridget, MD, who is our resident doctor, and she's the host of the segment, Reclaim Your Wellness, as we talk about everything health and well-being. All right, Doc, we got you back.
Absolutely.
All right, awesome. Awesome.
Great.
So when we were talking about the fact that, of course, this is the day of the 28th anniversary of the historic Million Man March. It was this day, October 16, 1995. There are nearly 2 million Black men convened on the march in Washington, and millions of more Black men and women decided to take the day off from school, from work, and to do some very, very deep self-reflection in a very collective way. 28 years ago, that happened. Talk to us about this piece that you want us to kind of get some insight on it as to why we need to care. This is coming out of this conversation about why we should care about Black men's mental health. What's your insight on this, Doc?
So what I was sharing before is that it is a monumental moment and day. I remember hosting a watch party for the Million Man March, and it simply was never given the credit that it should have been. And I think it is so incredibly monumental for Black men to come together in such a historic way. And I hope that we can get to that point again. And the fact of the matter is that, I know we talk a lot about mental health on here, and people may have either positive or indifferent or negative feelings about it, but I don't think people understand the gravity of what mental health and the difficulties that we deal with in the Black community. And I have to say, when I was preparing for today, I really had tears as I was going through some of these numbers. And so I want to hit you with those. But what really got me to this today was actually a conversation that I overheard one of my dear friend's son having. And he's 21 years old. He was sitting on his couch. He recently was shot 3 times in the knee. For the most part, being in the wrong place at the wrong time. But what he was talking to a friend, and he was saying there's no reason to be good. It does not pay to be good. That no matter what he does, it never will pay off. And so he gives them what they want, is what he said. He's like, I'm a Black man. I've never had a felony. All my guns are registered in my name. I have dreadlocks, and everyone assumes that I'm a criminal, so I give them what they want. And that hit me so hard because he's 21 and really no hope of what his future could be, no hope in if he jumps through the hoops of education and society that he would get a payoff. That he actually says that no matter what I do, it will never be good enough. It will never be right. So I give them everything wrong. And that's a person that lacks hope. And so it was concerning to me. And so, after our conversation, Farajii, I really wanted to dig in more into this mental health aspect for Black men. I found a book called The Care for the Mental and Spiritual Health of Black Men by Nicholas Greer that really touches on how critical it is that we look at Black men's health, mental health, and how much is neglected in our community.
Hey, Doc, one more time before we move further on, what's the name of that book? Because I know that folks may want to check this book out. What's the name of that book for us, please?
So it's by Nicholas Greer, and it's Care for the Mental and Spiritual Health of Black Men, Hope to Keep Going.
And Lisa, if we can just show the cover when you get a chance, just close that cover. Because I think that's important. I think that's absolutely important. Doc, when we're talking about mental health, and I know there's, that's like a catchphrase now. It's very popular. It's very trendy. But when you're saying it as it relates to Black men, what are some of the big things that we need to really be either talking about, looking out for? I mean, like you're saying, the fact that a 21-year-old is at that place in his life where he's given up and said, you know what, I'm not trying to be good no more.
Right.
Crew, I want y'all to think about this and certainly join us in a conversation as we stream it live on YouTube under Roland Martin. If a 21 years old, who we would deem as having all of these years ahead of him,
right,
is already come to this conclusion at 21, That's a problem.
That is a
Now
problem.
let's and I'm sure you probably heard this as well too, Doc. How many 16, 17, 15 years old?
Mm-hmm.
Like when we talk about that mentality, the shooting that happened at Morgan State University, one of the culprits the police are looking at is 17 years old. So something is really like fundamentally happening here.
Absolutely. We're 100% in a mental health crisis in the Black community, period. And we all know about Black on Black crime. We all know about Black shootings in our community. But the fact of the matter is suicide is the third leading cause of death for Black men between ages 15 to 24. Third leading cause. No one talks about that the mental health crisis is particularly evident for Black men. In 2018, the suicide rate for Black men was 4 times greater than for Black women. No one connects Black men with suicide. And when I heard this young man talking, my thought is that this is someone, when you lose hope, that's where depression comes. And what are we doing? We teach men that to bottle up their emotions, right? That their anger is threatening, that their emotions are weakness, that they're taught to be hyper masculine. And when you have all of that, when you're told to bottle up, not feel, not suggest, not express, it is depression, it is anxiety, it's unregulated emotions and outbursts when it does come out, and it can lead to violence. And what I heard was really a young man that was in depression, but doesn't even really connect to it on that level, right? He just simply says it's not worth doing good. And
he came to that conclusion on his own, though.
Mm-hmm.
He came to that conclusion on his own. Look, I'm going to take a quick pause because I know we got to take a break. But my sister, Dr. Sarah Williams, who's checking in from the chat, Doc, she also made the point. She said the impact of mental health, historical trauma, and the needs of the Black community are underrated. Thank you for this conversation.
Absolutely.
Underrated. Mental health, historical trauma, and the needs of the Black community is underrated. So we're at this crisis point, and it's manifesting itself through the children, through Black men and Black women, that there is a problem. And you know what? I know we got to take a pause. It's interesting that we haven't fully connected the dots. I think a lot of us have, but then I'm just saying in mass, fully connecting the dots. The way our children are is a reflection of who we are.
100%. And it's
so if the children are killers, come on, if the children are killing, where do they get that from?
Mm-hmm.
We got to take a quick pause. When we come forward, folks, we can continue the conversation talking about mental health and hope of Black men with our sister, Dr. Bridget Cole Williams, MD. We want to hear from you, Culture Crew. Join us in the conversation. We're streaming live right now on Roland Martin's YouTube page. What's your thoughts, or what are your thoughts about this mental health of young Black males? Post your comments. We'll try to get to as many comments as possible. And of course, stay tuned. It's The Culture right here on the Black Star Network.
When you talk about Blackness and what happens in Black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in Black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind $100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money make this possible. Check some money orders. Go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com.
I'm Farajii Muhammad, live from LA. And this is The Culture. The Culture is a two-way conversation. You and me. We talk about the stories, politics, the good, the bad, and the downright ugly. So join our community every day at 3 p.m. Eastern and let your voice be heard. Hey, we're all in this together. So let's talk about it and see what kind of trouble we can get into. It's The Culture. Weekdays at 3, only on the Black Star Network.
Folks, Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no punches! I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Stay black. I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, this difference between Black Star Network and black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
All right, folks, welcome back to The Culture here on the Black Star Network. I've been talking to our doctor, Dr. Bridget, MD, as she gave us some insight into this crisis that we are in right now around Black men, mental health, the lack of mental health and hope within Black men. And this is an ongoing thing, something I have been talking about, reading about, experiencing all the years that I've been a part of doing, social justice activism work, and just personally, you know what I mean? Like, your mind can go to places, could go to dark places because of where you are in your life and all of these things. So Doc, we only got a couple of moments left, but what are some of the ways that Black men can start to turn the tide on this? And more importantly, how can the community, whether it's the women in their lives, the families, and the community, start to help to turn the tides on this? And that if we're seeing a 21-year-old like the one you saw and overheard in our own families, that we can address that like right then and there and start the process of finding some healing for that young brother.
Absolutely. So I definitely think that if you're, seeing someone like my friend's son, which I talk to regularly, and when I heard that, I realized I need to dig in a little bit more. And so sometimes when we get in uncomfortable emotional places, because it's uncomfortable, people pull away. I'm asking people to not pull away and to say, I heard what you said and I understand why you say it, but there are options for your future. There are options for your life, and really kind of dig into what are they thinking and why. And then really kind of say, is there some depression going on? Because you should have hope for your future, despite the situation that you might have been around or what might be around in the community. You can have a different life. The one thing that really hit me is that we as a community, we don't often reach out for mental health services. And it's because of a great distrust of health services, historically, and, being rejected and because of racial trauma, oppression, being marginalized, we don't necessarily dig in like we should. The one thing I would say, even to our professionals, is that there's ways to make sure that you're providing adequate care for Black men. Number one, I've talked about this before. Cleveland has a group called Ghetto Therapy. It is where people come together. It's a group therapy situation along with having a psychotherapist and other professionals that come in to support them. So see if there's something like that in your community, but also be mindful is that make sure that you are working with therapists that do not have personal biases. There is an assessment test that therapists are supposed to take, implicit association test, that determines if they have a bias against men, Black men, skin color, race, whatever it may be. So they know that they are not built to take care of you. And maybe they can fix their problem. Because I think what will really turn us away is when we get that one therapist that makes us feel worse than what we did coming in. The part is there's a test for cultural sensitivity, and it's called the cultural formulation interview. And it also then assess whether this therapist can be culturally sensitive enough to work in the Black community. It is my job. I don't expect patients to go in and ask about this, but it is my job when I refer you to a therapist to make sure that this is on board. And these tests are something that I've not seen before. It is something that I'm going to push to make sure that the people that I'm referring to, if I don't know their skill set personally, I better know that they have at least been under this examination to make sure that they can take care of my patients.
Absolutely. These are excellent recommendations. And I would highly recommend, just to add on to what you already said, like, really putting the time in the work. It makes a world of difference. I've been to therapy. I'm going to tell y'all, folks, I'm one of them guys. I don't play around. I've been to therapy. And it's interesting because the current system of things that we're a part of, in the spaces of feminism, they talk about patriarchy, right, Doc? And they're saying that patriarchy not only abuse women, but it abuses men. Our sister, late great Bell Hooks, she wrote a book called, and I'm telling y'all brothers, y'all need to read this book, The Will to Change. And she's talking about how we have become emotionally unattached from ourselves. And it starts with growing up, getting conditioned by men and women to make us feel like if a boy cries, it's a sign of weakness. Right. To make us feel like that the only way for a boy to become a man is that he has to show aggression, that he cannot be loving, he cannot be nurturing, right? Like all of these cultural messages that we get when we're a boy, it sticks with us all throughout our childhood. And I think every one of us as Black men, we have one of those incidents. We have a tipping point moment in our lives where we wanted to express our real authentic self, but then that moment happened and we kind of came back in, we closed up. Yeah. And that's when, as as Bell Hooks put it, the psychological terror started. During those moments. Let me share this from Real Brooklyn and others who are checking in, my crew members real quick. Real Brooklyn, you say Black men feel that they have the least power to affect social change, hence feeling alienated by society and social programs, which unfortunately gives experience in the criminal justice system. That's from facts, Real Brooklyn. We do. We feel the least amount of power. And guess what, Doc? When we don't feel power in the world, we don't feel power in the community, then you got to come home and the woman in your life make you feel powerless.
Right.
That opens the door for domestic violence because he's going to, like you said, it's all built up and he's going to find, and it's an uncontrollable, destructive way, but he's going to exert his power. His mind and his spirit won't allow him to just let him not getting kicked from the world all the way home. So it's domestic violence.
Absolutely. Right. It's going to pop at some point. And I work a lot with former prisoners coming back into society. And if you think it's bad out in the regular world, you are definitely taught in prison that you do not show emotion or express anything for that matter, right? And when they get back out into society and people are expressing their dislike that you cut them off in traffic or they didn't like the food at the when you're dealing with people that are expressing on some level, when you've been taught to express nothing, they deal with an incredible amount of anger. There's a lot of violence that goes on with former prisoners going home and dealing with not only their let's say their significant other, but their parents, their children, because they have been taught to not feel. And so we are I will often say, even doing medical cannabis cards or just in my regular practice, if you are Black in America, you have PTSD. And whatever your experience may be, a little bit, a lot, whatever, you are going to have some level of PTSD. And if I cannot say anything else, is that we've been on the show, we talk about check on your strong Black woman. Please check on every Black man, because how they express it may be very different. If you are only letting them know that you see them, that you appreciate them, you love them, and that they have a safe place in you, check on your Black men.
Hey, can I throw something in there on that one? Can I throw something very quickly in that one? If you tell a Black man that you are a safe space, be a safe space.
Be a safe space. Yeah, absolutely.
Like, let a Black man, don't get upset, because I know, sisters, some of y'all like, I can't believe you said that, because that will shut some brothers down. I said some, not all, but some. Be a safe space. If you want a man to speak his mind, his heart, and his spirit, you have to have the mind, heart, and spirit to receive him.
Absolutely.
Because that's the other part of this conversation. Like, yeah, we could speak our things. We know how to use our words right now. But, and this is not just for the women, this is for the family. We got to stop shutting each other down. We got to stop, all of these secrets that we have in the family. Nobody wants to talk about what happened to Lil Tyrone when he was young, And it's like, it's killing us from the inside out, Doc. It is killing us. And Lil Tyrone sitting on a sofa and nobody talking to him. And he been that way. Well, why? Why is a 10-year-old that way? Why is a 16-year-old that way? Why is a 21-year-old that way?
Exactly.
All right, let me just take another comment, and we got to wrap up here on this part of the discussion. And Doc, I can't thank you enough for having it. Cindy D, you said we as parents, mentors, and caregivers have to speak life and hope into children around you. I teach Sunday school with many young Black men. I make sure I tell them they are important to society. Big shout out to you, Cindy, for teaching Sunday school and affirming Black men. Kay McMahon, you said, I work in the mental health field, and I can tell you one of the major issues behind young African-American men not accepting mental health treatment is the stigma behind the treatment. It's real. Absolutely.
Can I tell you one thing, though, that people don't realize this, whether it's mental health, children in school getting IEPs and 504s and getting sometimes special consideration. And many times in our Black households, we don't want that stigma. We don't want that special treatment that says Johnny, has some sort of mental health disorder. One thing you may not know is that the white community pays to get that stigma, pays to get those IEPs, pays to get those 504s, because it gives their child an extra advantage. So while we're sitting up there saying we don't want the diagnosis, we don't want the medication, we don't want that stigma on our child because it will hurt them, your white counterpart sitting next to Johnny got all the numbers. And guess what? He takes his test twice as long. He gets to have notes sitting out. His grades are, A pluses. We sometimes get in our own way. And I'm not saying fake it. I'm not saying, take advantage of it, but I want you to at least understand the mentality behind it. While we're taking down advantages, they are taking advantage of those opportunities. Help for your family.
Absolutely, absolutely. Doc, we have to stop it here. Are you having an after chat today to talk about this issue?
Absolutely. So we will have the after chat at 5:30. We'll have Healthy Relationships Only, where we continue talking about taking care of our Black men and our Black families on Instagram at Dr. Bridget MD today at 5:30.
There it is, folks. Make sure y'all tune in and follow Dr. Bridget on all social media platforms. And make sure y'all tune in here because she's here every Monday giving us some dope information and some recommendations and some ideas and her expertise about health and wellness. And of course, y'all can follow her on social media once again. But Doc, thank you so much for having this discussion and being so good for the culture, as always.
Thank you, Farajii.
Absolutely. All right, folks, we got to take a quick pause. When we come forward, let's kick it off. Let's have our first conversation about Black men in faith and spirituality. Joining us will be Pastor Jamal Bryant, Imam and student minister Abdul Salam, and my brother Zentola, who is a spiritual and meditational healer. So stay tuned. That conversation is on the other side right here, exclusively here on the Black Star Network. We'll be right back.
Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no punch! I'm real revolutionary right now.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig? When you talk about blackness and what happens in Black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in Black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible. Check some money orders. Go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com.
Folks, welcome to the culture and welcome to the culture's Black Men Summit, where we're going to be talking about it all week long on how we're redefining and celebrating Black manhood. And today, we wanted to kick off the conversation the best way that we could. And the only way to do that is to first talk about our connection to our Creator, to our God, our sense of spirituality. Now, this comes on the day of the 28th anniversary of the historic Million Man March. It was October 16th, 1995, 28 years ago, where over 2 million or nearly 2 million Black men convened on the Great Mall on Washington. That call was due to the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, but he wasn't by himself. It was a call that was made through him, but it was a call that also brought in so many different folks, different leaders, both men and women, communities together for a historic demonstration. So as we have this conversation, we want to look at the principles that were laid out 28 years ago, the principles of atonement, the principle of reconciliation, and the principle of responsibility, and use that as the guiding force for this conversation, and let this conversation set the tone for this week's conversation about Black men. But before we get into our very special guest, let's go back to the sights and to the sounds of that historic day of October 16th, 1995 in Washington, D.C.
To affirm the positive among us. This is the day that the Lord hath made, and we're called to celebrate what God has done, what God is doing, and what God will do. Long live the spirit of the Million Man March.
And this isn't about Farrakhan. This is about respect, unity, and love for the brothers. And we're trying to get something out of this, out of life. We're tired of being behind everything. We want to be in charge sometime. We want to unify, and that's what this is about, unity. Look at all these brothers around here.
We need to do it and show the government, hey, that we need to have control of our destiny.
We're choosing who our leaders are in the black community, and we're not just going to accept anything anymore. We're going to come together. We're going to register people to vote and go back to our community, go back to my neighborhood, register my friends and stuff to vote, and we'll take it from there.
He's doing something.
We are the problem solvers, that we love each other, and that nothing will ever turn us around. God bless you.
Strong men keep on a-coming. Strong black men keep on a-coming. Strong black men just keep on a-coming. We love you.
That was the historic day that changed America and all of us. So now let us bring in our very special guest for this conversation as we talk about Black men in faith and spirituality. I am joined by three dynamic brothers who are doing their work to change the culture and the conversation about us being in faith and spirituality. First and foremost, I have my big brother. He is a brother that's been on the ground for years. He has done so much for the community, and more importantly, he continues to be a light in the great city of Baltimore. We are so happy to have him joining us. He serves as the Baltimore representative for the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, the student minister, and Imam. Our big brother, Brother Imam Abdul Salam, is joining us. Brother Imam, assalamu alaikum, and thank you so much, dear brother, for joining us for this summit.
Wa alaikum salam, and thank you for having me on this great platform. And as you know, all of us from Baltimore and really throughout the nation are very proud of you in your growth and development. And we thank Brother Roland for giving you such an opportunity to serve our people on such a great level. I'm happy to be here.
Thank you. My other big brother is a brother who is certainly no stranger to the work that he's doing in terms of elevating Black men. This is my brother, man. Every time I see him, he shows me nothing but love. When he started his work in Baltimore, and then he transitioned to fill in the role of being the senior pastor of New Birth Missionary Baptist Church down there in Lithonia, Georgia. My big brother, Pastor Jamal Bryant. Pastor Bryant, good afternoon, dear brother. How are you, sir? We got the pastor on. Looks like we're going to have to get the pastor. Let's get the pastor connected very quickly. And then while we're doing that, let's introduce our other brother who I had a chance to just talk to just a few weeks ago. And after talking to him, I was just blown away about what he has done, the stance that he makes, and more importantly, the work that he is doing. So he's another brother from the great city of Baltimore. I'm so happy to have him joining us today, my big brother, Brother Zentola. Brother Zentola, peace and blessings, brother. How you feeling?
Thank you. I'm feeling good. How you feeling?
I'm good, man. I'm good. Thank you for joining us for this summit and having this conversation, bro.
Yes, it's a must. You know, it's time to unlock it.
Absolutely. Let me see. Let me know when, and I'm saying this to my team. Let me know when we get Pastor Bryant joining us in a moment. But Brother Minister, let's talk first about what we saw. You know, I just played a little quick clip of that historic day, October 16th, 1995. I was 16 years old. You were a young man back then. We were trying to do our thing, you know, trying to help in this great call of atonement, reconciliation, responsibility. I remember being in high school, Brother Minister, and telling my friends, trying to organize my friends around. It's like, yo, y'all going to the march, let's go together, let's jump on the bus, blah, blah, blah. And Arrow, my friends, is like, bro, you're gonna get yourself killed out there, right? But when I came back, I'll never forget, the response was overwhelming because so many of them was like, bro, I watched it on television. My people in my family went, and it was a magnificent day. But even more so just the day, I want to get down to the principles behind the march. Because this was a very different march. This wasn't a march about politics. This wasn't a march about social justice. This is a very different march. Talk to us about this principle of atonement, reconciliation, responsibility, and more importantly, how do we get back to that place?
Yes, sir. Well, of course, we can't start unless we talk about how God inspired the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan in a moment of inspiration where the words that he wanted to take 1 million black men to Washington, D.C. went out of his mouth. And the Honorable Minister Farrakhan said that he wished he could have pulled it back, but God inspired it. And so on October the 16th, 1995, we saw nearly 2 million black men show up on the mall in Washington, D.C. under the theme Atonement, Reconciliation, and Responsibility. Because the Honorable Minister Farrakhan pointed out to us that after 440 years at that time of brokenness and through our journey here in America, while receiving the most unjustifiable treatment in the annals of history, we as black men needed to atone with God, atone with self, atone with our family, and atone with each other as a people, and then take responsibility for our future into our own hands. So from that, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan gave us the great 8 steps of atonement. And any of you that would Google 8 steps of atonement from the Million Man March will see the process by which we can take to heal our families, our communities, and our nation.
And Brother Zentola, when we talk about this mass gathering of black men, I remember being on the mall. And Brother Minister, I know you can probably attest to this as well. The energy in the space was like and I'm not saying it's just to hype it up. Literally, you can feel God's presence. And I'm gonna just say it just like that. You can feel, like, as much as people talked about the fact that you're in the belly of the beast, the government is watching. I remember Clinton was out. Everybody, a lot of those major government leaders left this Capitol. I remember seeing tanks along the perimeter of the space. There were flying airplanes just in case, watching. Everybody was watching to see what happened. But I never felt more at peace in an outside demonstration like I did at the Million Man March. People were saying, we're gonna get, I said, Ray, if you went, you know that nobody was going to touch us. There was a covering on that. So let's talk a little bit about the energy of being called or coming back to a space of atonement and reconciliation. Brother Zentola, talk to us, like, you do energy work. How important is it that we have a massive call like that? Talk to me.
Well, it's very important because a lot of times we don't understand that our attention is our currency. And so whatever we're directing our attention toward with an intention will start to manifest. We've just been tricked into giving away our attention and creating things in which we don't want by different environmental stimuli and different patterns. And so when all of these men got together under this one intention of atonement, of all of these great things, yes, the energy is going to be immense, and you're going to even call forth your higher selves. So it's like it's going to be a whole different frequency, a whole different vibration. A lot of times we think because we can't see it in the physical that it's not there. But we have radio waves that has many stations that's floating through the air right now that you can't see. And depending on yourself, you can tune into those different frequencies depending on your intention. And so, yes, when you bring that many men, black men together with that melanin and that intention, yes, gonna bring forth a higher energy in which you can physically see beyond your logical understanding. Yeah,
absolutely. Look, we got to take a quick pause, brother minister, brother Zentola. We're going to take a pause. When we come forward, hopefully we can bring our pastor Jamal Bryant, into this conversation as well. And crew, I would love to hear your take on this as we're talking about black men in spirituality, black men in faith, as we are talking about the 28th anniversary of the Million Man March, but more importantly, talking about how do we get back on track with ourselves and our creators, especially during this time. The conversation will continue on the other side. Stay with us. It's the Culture's Black Men Summit here on the Black Star Network.
When you talk about blackness and what happens in black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible. Check some money orders. Go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland@RolandSMartin.com.
I'm Farajii Muhammad, live from LA. And this is The Culture. The Culture is a two-way conversation. You and me. We talk about the stories, politics, the good, the bad, and the downright ugly. So join our community every day at 3 p.m. Eastern and let your voice be heard. Hey, we're all in this together. So let's talk about it and see what kind of trouble we can get into. It's The Culture. Weekdays at 3, only on the Black Star Network.
Folks, Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no punches! I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, this difference between Black Star Network and black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
All right, folks, welcome to the Culture's Black Men Summit, where we're redefining and celebrating Black manhood. I'm your host, Farajii Muhammad. I've been talking to my brothers as this is the kickoff conversation as we talk about Black men in faith and spirituality. There's no other conversation that can happen until we have this one. So this is why we've decided to have this first to set the tone for this week's set of conversations. And so I've been joined by brother student minister and imam, brother Abdul Salam, who serves as the Baltimore representative for the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, and also joined by my brother who is a meditational spiritual healer and author, brother Zentola. We're just having the start of a dynamic conversation. Brother Minister, I want to get your take on what brother Zentola was just pointing out. which he says setting your intention. And I know that in the Muslim prayer service, before you even go through the steps, the first thing you do when you step on that rug is set your intention, is to say to the Almighty God what you plan to do and how you plan to do it. Are we looking at a situation in Black America, especially among Black men, that we don't know our intention because of all of these other issues that are happening? Like, how did we get to that place that we're going to set our intention? Because we saw it in 1995. We saw it in those, subsequent marches. We saw it at the 20th anniversary for the Justice of the Million Man March at the Justice of Else. Some people would say, oh, we need another march. Some people say we need a different leader. But how do we get the intention back to Black America, to Black men, so that way we don't have to wait for some outside force, that we can call from that force from within?
Well, first and foremost, in order to state an intention, we have to be called to something. So in Islam, we are called to prayer by statements that are telling us that it's time to pray in that instance. So once we answer the call, then we go ahead and formally state the intention to perform what we have been called to. And this is because though we make good intentions a lot of times in our life journey, there are forces that can distract us. There are forces that can cause us to have a good intention but fail in fulfilling the intention of what either we spoke, thought, or desired to do from the heart. But this is the beauty of how God operates best through divine servants. The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan made a call, but it was the Spirit of God that moved from that call that Black men answered to. And therefore, by answering the call, by showing up or watching on that day, they were able to reestablish the intention for which they were called to, even if they didn't understand what was going to be said. But by the end of the Honorable Minister Farrakhan's message, he caused us to see that it was important for us because we desired to want to do something, to join a Black organization that was serving our people, to join a spiritual house, whether it is the church, whether it is Islam or some faith tradition that could feed our souls and feed our minds, and then get involved in some format of community struggle by joining on to those that were already working. So in 2023, going into 2024, there are a lot of distractions going on today, just as it was in 1995. But I believe that the essence of Black people in general, being the people of God, when that proper call comes, no matter what time it comes, our soul resonates with that call and are attracted to it. And so now from the spirit of the march, it can live on from those that attended and know the values of what it did for them in their lives.
Brother Minister, I love that comment and that response. I'm going to go back to you then, Brother Zentola. I want to bring this to you. In order for you to get into that space, you have to have a heart. I remember the minister, and there's a clip of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan saying this, Brother Minister and Brother Zentola. He said, I was given the call for this march, but if I was a hater, if I was a man that did not want to see the best for all of humanity, not just for Black people, then how would you justify the response that you saw in 1995 if I didn't have the heart to make the call? And I think that's where it is. It's like now we're at a place right now, Brother Minister, like a lot of the challenges that are facing Black men in Black America, but more importantly, Black men, it gets down to the very heart of who we are. It takes away our sense of emotion. As our sister Dr. Bridget talked about, it takes away our sense of humanity. Something that Islam has often been seen as, and I know you heard it and I've heard it all my life, that when Black men come into the ranks of the Nation of Islam, that it warms the heart again because we've been made so cold. Talk to us about that process of even falling in love with yourself again after being conditioned and told that you are nobody and that you have no power.
Well, I can say that the beauty of seeing the example in the fulfillment of what the words of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan have done for so many Black men specifically, but in general, Black men and women and families across America and throughout the world, that when I saw the example of the teaching, not knowing what it would do for me, once I got around that energy, as my beautiful brother talked about, when your heart and your soul is reaching for God, even though you may be limited in knowledge, it's reaching. And the Nation of Islam was magnetic to Malcolm X. It was magnetic to Muhammad Ali. It was magnetic to the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan in their day. And in our day, it was still magnetic from the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan rebuilding this work. And so a young teenager like myself and tens of thousands of others were attracted to something that was already moving. And when you enter into a unit that is already operating and that unit embraces you, the brotherhood embraced me with love. And you can't beat that, because perfect love casts out fear. And so if we say God is love, how do we know unless it's being manifested in those that have his spirit? And so Black organizations that have also benefited in that way have understood the qualifying reality of what Minister Farrakhan taught me and teaches me as a student. And that is the basis of unity. That is the basis of a common goal. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad said that our unity would solve 95% of our problems. And his minister has caused us to see and understand from the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, his teacher, that our unity is more powerful than any type of atomic or nuclear bomb. So we just got to get busy on living what we say, and we will attract and be magnetic to the people that need that saving grace, power, love, and unity.
Brother Zentola, I want to get your take on this. And I got word that Pastor Bryant is now technically ready. So I want to take a few extra minutes to get his take as well, because we only have limited time with him. But Brother Zentola, what's your take of that in terms of the heart, cultivating the heart, so that way you can hear the call to set the intention?
Yes, it's very important. A lot of times, like what my brother just said, unity is very much needed. But before we can have unity, we must first find ourselves. We must first heal the inner things that we have been going through or going through turmoil with. And so, yes, unity is like, think about it like this. When you have traumas, let's look at the traumas like, let's look at them like thorns that are in you, all right? And so even when you go to hug someone else, that can cause you pain. And it's not that this person is trying to cause you pain. It's because those traumas sitting on the surface, even when it's a good act or a nice act, it could still cause you pain. And so the other way I also explain traumas is, think about hands that has been worn so much that they get callous. The callus is built up on the hands to protect the hands from keep getting abrasions. And so this is how not being healed, where you can't feel. See, once you start healing those callus will start going down, and then you can feel and find your sensation of where when you touch something, you can actually feel it. And so once we're at a place where we can pour into ourselves and we know how to tap into higher vibrations from there and understanding who we are and finding ourselves, then we can now extend love to others. It's just like the cup, you can't pour from a cup that's not even full, that you don't even have anything yourself. You can't pour from an empty cup. And so I think that a lot of things are important steps on the way there, but I think we're missing a few that we are tending to look over that's so much important, like finding ourselves, getting to who we are, and clearing the noise, getting to a silent place. And so from there, we can build relationship with self, God from within, and then we can extend outwardly. And I think that's what is pretty much missing, and the power of words. It's so many different things. So when I say this in mind, bringing up, like, let's say, integrating into the kids, the seeds. If we want to get to the bottom of it, we have to, of course, find ourselves, but we have to integrate into the seeds. We have to teach them who they are earlier, because it's not that we aren't who we are, is that we have been tricked and conditioned into not knowing who we are. It's just like the lions in the zoo, and there's one man is controlling all of these lions. It's because they don't know that they're lions. They have been conditioned to think that they are kittens. And I think that's the same with us. We have been conditioned into not knowing our power, not knowing how to access our power, and putting everything outside of ourselves. And so now we put in this responsibility on our alignment and our spiritual alignment on everyone else, and we are lacking the relationship with the words, the vibration, and the thoughts that we need to align with that energy. And from there, it'll guide you. That's why I can never tell no one what to do. I only would say, let's get into a quiet space and let's get in an alignment where you will then know what to do. And so it's the tools. It's just like a cell phone, right? So if you notice how we have to have updates with our cell phone, what happens if you don't update your cell phone? It'll start glitching. This is what anxieties is happening. We're not upgrading to new understandings and practices of who we are as energy first, and then letting everything else align. And that's what's out of whack. We putting all of this outside of us, and we're not in alignment. That's what it is.
I want to bring in our brother, Pastor Jamal Bryant, the senior pastor of New Birth Missionary Baptist Church down in Georgia. I know he had some sound issues, but he got a few moments just to be with us. Pastor Bryant, as you're hearing about this, as we're talking about Black men kind of coming back into ourselves spiritually and through our faith, what kind of guidance would you offer as a man that's been doing this work for well over 20 years and seeing all of the Black men going through all of the changes that we have gone through in this country?
Farajii, let me first say thank you for having me on. And I'm
yes, sir.
I'm kind of glad the sound went out for a minute for me to get myself together. Let me say this has nothing to do with what you asking me, but this moment is great for me to see you and Brother Carlos together. I've not seen both of you in years, and my heart is doing somersaults. I'm serious. We came up through the ranks together and really grew as men and grew as leaders together. And while I was disconnected from the broadcast, I'm thinking about how life would have been different if I'm still in Baltimore right now. Me and Carlos will be planning tonight's citywide town hall meeting about the Gaza Strip and what to do about Palestine, and invite the Jews from Parkite to come be in the discussion. You know what I mean? I miss all of that. I don't have that level of camaraderie to do that in Atlanta. But we will be broadcasting this live from Empowerment Temple right now if I was in Baltimore. But I just wanted to say, really, I don't even know what the question is, Farajii.
Right, it's all good.
Seriously, I miss my brothers. I love y'all. I done left Atlanta and left Baltimore, and now Farajii is looking like Jesus. Something has happened. I don't know what has happened. What is your question, Farajii? I'm sorry.
Oh man, look, Pastor, very quickly, because I know you got to hop off. You got another appointment, but I'm pushing I'm begging my producers to give me just the time. But I want to get your take on, cultivating the heart of Black men. Minister Carlos, Brother Abdullah Salam and Brother Zentola both talked about the fact that Black men, we have been hardened over the years. And as a man that's in this faith, that's doing this work to soften the heart of Black men, how do we get to that place, considering it has caused tremendous pain and damage to our community when we're continuing to work from this space of Black men have to be stoic, or Black men can't emote emotions, or Black men aren't spiritual men, that we cannot exhibit God in a very loving and nurturing way. So what's your take on that, Brother Pastor?
Yeah, so I'm mindful that we're really coming from different perspectives. Student Minister Carlos and our dear brother dealing with the physiology and the psychology. I want to deal with from a different level, especially in light of what we're dealing with. The significance of a Muslim leader calling Christian pastors into accountability, for me, is what the Million Man March really resonated with. And it really set the tone, not just for the states, but for the diaspora, to show that there was a way that we could coexist, how it is that we can function. Is that a lot of people are dealing with the Muslims and the Jews in Gaza, and they forget the persecution of Palestinian Christians. And I think that how it is that we function, the Honorable Minister Farrakhan gave us the blueprint, is that we find what is our commonality even in our diversity. And so the strength of the beauty of who it is that we are is knowing that we are not a myopic people, but that there are so many different dimensions of who it is that we are, that we embrace the beauty and the splendor of our difference, in knowing that some of us are vegetarian and some of us eating bacon. Some of us are only listening to gospel, and some of us listening to trap music. But in the words of Malcolm X, when the police pull you over, they're not asking you, are you Dr. So-and-so? Are you Reverend so-and-so? They just see you as nigger so-and-so. And so when we find out that the real common denominator is so much stronger than anything that divides us, we understand the significance of this moment. And so while Black people are crying out about what's going on in Israel, as we should, we can't do that, Farajii, and not say nothing about the Congo. We can't raise that up and not say nothing about what's happening in Haiti. If $37 billion is getting ready to go to Israel and nothing is going for the infrastructure for the mother continent, then it is our responsibilities. Nobody is asking Jewish people to remember Israel. They're saying, lest we forget. And so I think that we've got that same responsibility as Black men to hold up what is our Ebenezer and what is our standard and what is significant for us. Roland Martin, the curator of this network, said that we got to be clear, what is the ask? We got to stop being honored just to be there without a demand. Power concedes nothing without a demand. And so I think that our Black men have got to come together and say, what are we clearly asking for? And at this point, we ain't asking for nothing. We're demanding to be treated as human beings, demanding access to capital, demanding that our public schools have exemplary technology, demanding that Morgan State University gets the same funding University of Maryland does. And so I think that that's the stance that men have to do in this post-Million Man March reality.
There it is. Pastor Jamal Bryant, the great senior pastor of New Birth Missionary Baptist Church, checking in. Pastor Bryant, we thank you so much for your time this afternoon. Thank you, dear brother, for the work that you're doing. I got to bring you back because I believe you're opening up a medical center for your church. Is that correct? I saw the video of that.
Yes.
You were walking through the hallways of that.
Yes, we open on November 11th. It is a full medical clinic that will be able to screen people, test people, prescribe people, not only for those who are insured, but Farajii, for those who are underinsured and for those who are on Medicaid. We break ground in 3 months on 150 mini houses so that we can reintroduce our community to home ownership and change the narrative. It's only Black people that have housewarming parties for apartments. So we got to change the whole narrative of what it is that we do in terms of home ownership and wealth creation. All of the things that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad taught for many years, we are now finally getting the understanding of the depth of his prophetic witness.
There it is, Pastor Jamal Bryant. We'll certainly be in support of that. And I'll reconnect with you, Pastor, so that way you could talk more about these initiatives on the other side. But I thank you, and we thank you so much, dear brother, for your time.
But tell the producers, me and Carlos got to talk about Israel. We need an hour to just talk about Israel. If you just give us 1 hour, we will shut it down.
Hey, look, if you want to talk about Israel and Palestine, let's go. Let's go. We can talk about it. We can set that up.
Give me 1 hour. That's all that I need, please.
Done.
I hold you to it. Thank you. Love y'all. Grace and peace.
Love you too. Thank you, Pastor. Brother Minister and Brother Zentola, we got to take a quick pause now. When we come forward, let's continue the conversation. Crew members, I want to get your thoughts about this as we are talking about Black men in faith and spirituality. Post your comments as we are streaming right now on YouTube under Roland Martin's YouTube page. And of course, stay with us. The conversation continues on the other side with the Culture's Black Men Summit here on the Black Star Network.
Pull up a chair, take your seat. The Black Tape with me, Dr. Greg Carr, here on the Black Star Network. Every week, we'll take a deeper dive into the world we're living in. Join the conversation only on the Black Star Network.
I'm Farajii Muhammad, live from LA. And this is The Culture. The Culture is a two-way conversation. You and me. We talk about the stories, politics, the good, the bad, and the downright ugly. So join our community every day at 3 p.m. Eastern and let your voice be heard. Hey, we're all in this together. So let's talk about it and see what kind of trouble we can get into. It's The Culture. Weekdays at 3, only on the Black Star Network.
When you talk about blackness and what happens in Black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in Black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible. Check some money orders. Go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com. Folks, Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no punches! I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Stay black. I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, this difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
Good afternoon and welcome back to the Culture's Black Men Summit. I'm your host, Farajii Muhammad. We've been having a fantastic first discussion as we're talking about redefining and celebrating Black manhood. We're kicking off today's series with around the conversation about Black men in faith and spirituality. We just heard some remarks from Pastor Jamal Bryant, the senior pastor of New Birth Missionary Baptist Church down in Georgia. We're still left with our dear brothers, our great special guest, the Baltimore representative for the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, student minister and Imam Abdul Salam. And we're also joined by spiritual and meditational healer and author, Brother Zentola, as well, as we're talking about this. Crew, y'all know what to do. Post your comments, share your thoughts as we're streaming live on YouTube right now under Roland Martin's YouTube page. Folks are checking in. My brother Tony D said, "I know that this will be one great show with both Imam Abdul Salam and Reverend Dr. Jamal Bryant discussing the Israel and Hamas war." Brother Minister, looks like we're gonna have to bring you back, sir.
You already know. We come back with guidance and instructions and permission from the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan.
Absolutely. Let me check in with other folks because people are talking about this. My man, you don't like my music. You say culture changes people, not politics. This is why I love this show. And that's why we love you. You don't like my music. We love you. We appreciate you, man, for checking in. And I want to speak to that point because here's another part of this. There is a growing and changing dynamic, Brother Zentola and Brother Minister, that's happening among Black men, and particularly and Black folks in this country. Pew Research, they did this study back in 2021. And one of the things that they found is that first, Black people in America are the most religious group of people demographically than any other people in this country. This is from 2 years ago, folks. We're the most, this speaks volumes about where we are with this. But then the other thing, here's this other part about it. And at least let's go to quote one on this one, where they're talking about in this Pew Research study. It shows that the findings show that Black Americans are more religious than the American public as a whole on a range of measures of religious commitment. For example, they are more likely to say that they believe in God or a higher power and to report that they attend religious services regularly. They also are more likely to say religion is very important in their lives and to be affiliated with a religion and to believe prayers to ancestors have protective power and that evil spirits can cause problems in a person's life. Now, here's that part. This is from Pew Research. But then on the other side, Brother Minister and Brother Zentola, take a look at this. Let's go to quote number 2, that a Pew Research study confirms Black Americans, who are demographically the most religious in the country, are turning away from organized religion in large numbers. In 1 decade, 11% fewer Black people considered themselves Christians, and 7% more claim to be unaffiliated with any religion, or in some people's category, they would say they are more spiritual. Brother Zentola, talk to us. What is happening here right now? And then, Brother Minister, I'd love to get your take on this. What is happening where now you have more people say, I'm spiritual, not religious, making this distinction? And how does this play on how a Black man sees himself in relationship to his relationship with God and with the Creator?
Yes. So I believe that what's happening is, religion, it has you like in a certain group, where spirituality, it kind of gives you the room to understand who you are and the connection with your Creator without some place or someone outside of you dictating you. What I believe, religion is like, think of religion like turning on the water. You can get water from the spigot and it's controlled, right? Spirituality is like tapping into a spring. You can't turn a spring off. And so once you tapped into that spring, you no longer can just like go inside of a box of just using the spigot water when you know that the spring is there. And so I think what's happening is, with us able to share our understandings and everything with, what we've been through as Black people and church and things like that, we understand that church is much needed, or religion is very much needed, but we're finding ourselves at a place where we are expanding beyond, like, say, a certain dynamic. So let's think of that like a first grade. You needed to know the information. You needed to learn about certain things. But now we're at a place of convergence, of integration. And so if you know these things that you've learned in these different books and these religions, and you're not converting them, you're not integrating these things into your life, well, then you don't get the change or the transformation. And so I believe that what's happening is people are more so opening their minds and their understanding on, like, what are they connected to and what is actually in alignment with them. And so we're tapping into a higher higher spaces than normal. And I think that it's all needed. I think, like I said, it's like grades. You have first grade, second grade, third, and it's like it keeps going. We're here to grow. We're here to expand. And so now you're seeing a convergence of not people turning away from God, but people receiving God from different things like music and sound bowls and meditations. And it even says even in the Bible, it said meditate day and night. So it's certain things that we've looked over that is actually helping, that were actually our tools to help us to integrate. And as we're shifting into higher vibrations, the earth is now shifting into higher vibrations. Knowing is now is no longer enough, you know? And so I say that spirituality, or like these mindful practices, whatever you want to put them under, energy, these are all these are the keys, right? And so I use the keys as an example, because I can give you a car, and if you didn't know what a car did, you would just try to push this car up the street and down the street. And if I ask you, how do you like the car I gave you, you say, well, it's kind of heavy, I have to push it around. Right. And then if I give you the keys to the car, now the same car that you thought you had to push around is now carrying you where you want to go and where you need to go. Now you'll have a totally different experience. I believe that's what's happening in life right now. We're going through life and we're thinking we're all having the same experience, but we're really not. Depending on if you have the keys or if you don't, your experience is going to be totally different. And so that's what we are realizing. We are tapping into ourselves and understanding the keys in which we can now manifest and attract things, opposed to being so physical about it. As a matter of fact, if you see something in the physical, this is the last stage to it manifesting. It started in the non-physical. Everything starts with energy, and we have the power to summon this energy into manifestations through our thoughts, words, and movements. And so if we are doing old thoughts, old words, and old movements, and we're seeing the same reality, this is why we haven't broken the pattern. And so I'm here to help people understand that we can break that pattern through mindful exercises and different spiritual practices that will bring us much closer. And then from there, you'll know what to do. That's where we are.
Brother Minister, we're going to take a quick pause, but when we come forward, I would love to get your take on this, as you know, as a minister in an organized setting, in an organized structure, and then as an imam, as you all know about the metaphysical and the importance of that. So we'd love to hear your take on this. Folks, we got to take a final quick pause. Stay with us. It's the Culture's Black Men Summit here on the Black Star Network.
Folks, Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no punches! I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Stay black. I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
I'm Farajii Muhammad, live from LA. And this is The Culture. The Culture is a two-way conversation. You and me. We talk about the stories, politics, the good, the bad, and the downright ugly. So join our community every day at 3 p.m. Eastern and let your voice be heard. Hey, we're all in this together. So let's talk about it and see what kind of trouble we can get into. It's The Culture. Weekdays at 3, only on the Black Star Network.
When you talk about blackness and what happens in Black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine
people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause to long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in Black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible. Check some money orders. Go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland@RolandSMartin.com.
Folks, welcome back to the Culture's Black Men Summit, redefining and celebrating Black manhood. Been talking to spiritual leaders, Brother Student Minister and Imam Abdul Salam, who serves as the Baltimore representative for the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, and our brother Zentola, who is a spiritual and meditational healer. We are gathered to have this conversation on the 28th anniversary of the historic Million Man March that happened 28 years ago today, folks, on October the 16th, 1995. And so we only saw fit to have this conversation kicking us off for this week of discussions around Black men and as we celebrate manhood. Brother Minister, I want to get your take on this piece from Pew Research and just this growing culture where we're finding a lot of our people. I hear it from a lot of sisters when you ask the sisters, like, what church you go to, or where's your faith home? Oh, I'm more spiritual. I don't. And these are not, quote unquote, like sisters that are not professional. You're talking about very high professional women who are Black women who are stepping away from the church, which has been the backbone, we know, of our community. And Black women in faith has been the backbone of our community. But what are we seeing here, Brother Minister? And how do we make sure that Black men, as we're talking about these changes and transitions, as Brother Zentola talked about, how do we make sure that Black men don't get kind of lost in the shuffle and then our spirituality is not being fed and cultivated?
Well, I would first start by saying that there are a whole lot of polls taken about a whole lot of things, and especially about Black people and their experience in America. It's funny that people take polls and then we take the poll as the overall blanketing of as if it's true. But I would say this, that, Almighty God, as I'm taught from my teacher, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, did not come to establish a building. We're interested in buildings, mosques, church, synagogues, cloisters, temples. But if we ask the question, there are mega churches. There are mosques on the planet that hold millions. In Mecca, hold 1 million people. In Medina, 750,000 people at one time for prayer. We have large edifices that hold tens of thousands of people. But the question becomes, can any of these buildings hold all the people? So it goes to show you what the scriptures teach us, that we are the true house of God. We are the real temples of God. And that's why the poll suggests that we are the most religious. I'm going to use spiritual because our spirituality comes from God himself. So teaches the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and his minister Farrakhan. In fact, the reason why Black people seem to be so religious, it is because it is the nature in which we are created. We are created by the Creator to submit to do his will. However, in a society like this, there's a whole lot of distraction. So in Islam, we are taught the Prophet Muhammad, peace and prayers be upon him, said that the entire earth is our prayer carpet. The entire earth is our masjid or mosque. So it is in any religion, faith, tradition that follows the prophets of God. You don't need to be inside the actual house or place where you may worship or don't worship. As long as you know that there's a sanctified place that gives you the peace to talk to God. That could just be riding down the street in your car and getting to a traffic light and just saying, oh God, I love you. Please help me get through the rest of the day. That's how serious it is with Black people. But I close with this. It's interesting that the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan spoke to us on Saturday as he addressed the Nubian Leadership Circle. And he petitioned us to go back to the program that appears on the back page of the Final Call newspaper, every edition, and prior to that, the Muhammad Speaks newspaper. It is called the Muslim Program. Listen to what the Honorable Elijah Muhammad says about mental and spiritual resurrection that my brother was just attesting to. He says, we believe that the so-called Negroes or Black people are most in need of mental resurrection. Therefore, they will be resurrected first. Furthermore, we believe we are the people of God's choice. And it has been written that God would choose the rejected and the despised. We can find no other persons fitting this description in these days more than the so-called Negroes or Black people in America. We believe in the resurrection of the righteous. So this is showing us that the nature of us is God. We come from God. And no matter what has been done to us, you brought us through chattel slavery, you hung us, you lynched us, you unjustly imprisoned us in mass. But yet God is still in the jail cell. God is wherever we are, even on the street corner in the worst of our condition. When we, the followers of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, through his minister, walk the most dangerous parts of our neighborhoods, guess what happens? The junkie looks up and sees the clean face of the FOI and says, Assalamu alaikum, my brother. Pardon me, excuse me. The brother that's drinking want to put his bottle down. The brother smoking his reefer or his joint want to hide it. What is that saying? He sees himself in the proper state. And we look at them with no judgment, because up underneath those conditions is absolutely the true essence and material manifestation of God. You don't have to be inside of a brick and mortar building to manifest God. You can do it right in the quietness of your own self. All you have to do is call his name. And he laughs and smiles and says, look at my servant calling my name. And he gives us relief in that. So no spiritual house that we build could ever hold all of God's people, because the real house of God is wherever God's people are.
On that note, Brother Minister and Brother Zentola, we're going to say thank you. We're going to say thank you. And I truly, truly appreciate that. And I think that that resonates with all of us that are tuned in today. I cannot thank both of you brothers enough for taking times out your schedules. And we thank Brother Pastor Jamal Bryant for joining us for a few moments. But Brother Minister and Brother Imam, thank you so much, sir, for your wisdom and your expertise. Brother Zentola, thank you so much. Brother Zentola, folks, y'all can follow Brother Zentola on social media, Zentola, Zentola. You can follow
The
Zentola, excuse me. Thank you, brother, on social media. And we thank him. And he has a fantastic book out that he serves as the author of. And it's a journal, and it talks about mindfulness and talks about energy work. And it's Zenergy. I love this book. There it is right there. Zenergy Me Journal, the Manifest Energy Journal. So make sure y'all check that out. And of course, our brother Imam, we will have to bring him back to talk about other issues. But I just want to say thank you to both of you for joining us today here on The Culture for this first day of this Black Men Summit. And I thank you both for being so excellent, so great for the culture. So thank you so much, brothers. We truly appreciate it.
And I got to connect with my brother. He's right here in the city. We got to do the work together. And I felt his beautiful energy right through the screen.
Yeah, there it is right there.
Too, brother.
Absolutely. Yes. Absolutely. Black men from Baltimore doing it big today. That's what I'm talking about. Thank you so much, brothers. We truly appreciate it. We want to thank our coverage partner, AfroLAnews.org. Go to AfroLAnews.org, folks, to get all the latest news about Black life in Los Angeles. This is a nonprofit organization that's putting out very, very thoughtful content about news and information that is happening in LA from a Black Los Angeles resident's perspective. So go to AfroLAnews.org. I want to also thank my partner, the Sister Olivia Alamangro, for making this broadcast and making this summit happen, along with my production team. I want to thank Joel and Shannon. I want to thank Maddie and Chris. I want to thank my sister Lisa and my man King Keenan for all of the work. And of course, the Culture Crew. Thank y'all so much for tuning in for the first day of this week of special conversations that we will be having about Black men and redefining and celebrating Black manhood. Tomorrow, we're going to talk about Black men in politics. So that conversation should be a good one. But thank you so much for tuning in. Stay tuned. Up next 6 p.m. is Roland Martin with RMU. As always, go to blackstarnetwork.com, download the app, follow us on social media, and give. Help us to power this movement in this digital space. But we truly, truly appreciate all of your support. As always, never be afraid to challenge what's wrong, stand for what's right while being yourself in the process. God willing, we will talk tomorrow for another exciting edition of The Culture, right here, exclusively here on the Black Star Network. Peace.